This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
This is Faith Under Fire on Family Life, and I'm Greg Gillespie. Today we visit with Brian Westbrook, who is the Executive Director of Coalition Life, a pro-life organization that took a case to the Supreme Court, but this week the court declined to hear your case. Brian, tell us where this all started with local restrictions on people who were wanting to do some pro-life counseling at women's clinics near you.
Absolutely. Well, here at Coalition Life, we're based out of the St. Louis area, but we're invited to Carbondale, Illinois. It's a short 2-hour drive. Carbondale has become the hotbed of abortion in the Midwest. Clients are coming to Carbondale from all around the United States, from Texas, Tennessee, Kentucky, Louisiana, and beyond, to the 3 abortion facilities there in Carbondale. And we started Sidewalk Counseling, and the moment we did that, following the Dobbs decision, the city of Carbondale enacted a bubble zone. And we told them in City Council, we told them that we would bring this to the Supreme Court if need be, and that's just exactly what we did. And they wanted to stifle our First Amendment free speech in front of those abortion facilities with this so-called bubble zone. They have successfully done that. However, we're excited that they eventually repealed this a day or two before the Supreme Court actually was about to hear this at conference.
Describe for us who aren't familiar with local Illinois ordinances, what were they accomplishing by putting these bubble zones in?
Yeah, it was a copycat of Hill versus Colorado. That was a case from more than 20 years ago that specifically does not allow you to approach someone, to educate them, hold a sign about alternatives to abortion. Because of the way it's worded, it's a huge violation of our First Amendment free speech. That ordinance was a copycat of Hill versus Colorado's Supreme Court case, which Justice Thomas and Justice Alito, in their dissenting opinion, believe was an egregious decision, and that many times, even in the Dobbs decision, the Hill versus Colorado case just is ignored. It is not good precedent, and so we were trying to overturn precedent. But in Carbondale, that is, they did decide to repeal it, but in a 4-minute meeting in the basement of City Hall, unannounced, they repealed the bubble zone, and so we're glad that they did that. However, we were disappointed that the Supreme Court did not take the case.
So what was it that pushed this decision by the local leaders there to change their mind? Obviously, a big court case makes city councils nervous, but where was the public pressure on them to decide to do this, and apparently to decide to do it in a very quiet, almost off-the-record way?
The actual ordinance was passed at the request of the abortion facilities. So there's 3 down there. It's Alamo, Choices, and Planned Parenthood. At the request of these locations, the bubble zone was put in place. They did not come publicly to speak. Not one citizen came to speak on behalf of the passage of this bubble zone back when it was passed several years ago. In fact, there was an overwhelming majority of people that came to speak against this bubble zone, yet the City Council overwhelmingly passed it, unanimously passed this. They said in their comments later on, when they repealed it in July of 2024, the reason was because, well, we don't need it. And that was kind of our reason several years back, is you don't need this because there's nothing dangerous happening. None of the clients are getting upset. In fact, they are grateful that they have this new piece of information that there are alternatives to abortion. And the vast majority of the clients we meet are very grateful that they have this information. In fact, many of them turn around, leave, and choose life in front of those abortion facilities because of our Coalition Life Sidewalk Counselors.
Brian Westbrook is the founder of Coalition Life, a pro-life organization that does sidewalk counseling and many other forms of outreach in the Midwest. What lessons would you have for pro-life advocates in other parts of the country about that kind of a turnout when a city council wanted to restrict people from approaching those who might be going into one of these clinics?
I would say my message and our lessons learned, of course, is to ensure that when there are egregious ordinances or egregious decisions, whether that be from city council or state or even schools, universities, especially public universities, that you don't just sit idly by and allow those things to happen. In fact, reach out to groups like the amazing Thomas More Society and the work that they are doing. Have yourself an attorney or two in your back pocket. Get to know them well, because we have these types of ordinances all around the country. These are egregious ordinances that should be challenged, that are a huge violation of First Amendment free speech, whether it be so-called free speech zones on college campuses or these bubble zones in front of abortion facilities. We should be pushing back, and we've got great teams of attorneys who are willing to do this pro bono. And I think whoever you are, wherever you are in the country, we should be standing up and protecting our First Amendment rights. Huge lessons learned through this.
You mentioned the Thomas More Society. That is the faith-based legal foundation that is dealing with a lot of First Amendment kind of constitutional issues elsewhere. As you have been talking with your attorneys, the fact that the Supreme Court did not take this case up, even though the City Council just shortly before the decision was to come out of Washington, D.C., and again, the Supreme Court only takes maybe 1% of the cases filed to it. But what is the legal application here? We know there was a big Dobbs decision that changed the way abortion is being battled out in courtrooms and public debate all over the place. But the fact that the Supreme Court did not speak out on this, does that tell us anything about where the pro-abortion, pro-choice, pro-life debates are going to go on the legal side?
From this decision specifically, I think the most important piece of information is Justice Thomas's dissenting opinion. I think it is incredibly clear that Hill versus Colorado is terrible court decision, yet the court has to officially say that. So I think the Thomas More Society and our discussions with them and others is very, very clear that we will continue to take one case after the next, until Hill versus Colorado is in the trash heap of history.
Brian Westbrook is the executive director of Coalition Life, a pro-life organization that brought suit against the Carbondale, Illinois Council when they tried to provide a 100-foot bubble. Pro-life advocates could not speak with people going into abortion clinics. Brian, thank you so much for being with us and telling us your story.
Thank you. It's an honor to be on the program.
This is Faith Under Fire, listening to the voices from religious battlefields in our culture. I'm Greg Gillespie, Family Life News.
From the breaking news stories that are shaping your world to the issues that matter most to you and your family, Family Life News will keep you up to date on what's happening. You'll get the information you need and the faith-based perspective you want from a news team you can trust. Family Life News, covering New York, Pennsylvania, our country, and our world, with hourly newscasts, weekday mornings and afternoons, and our weekday broadcasts of the Noon Report and the 5 o'clock Report. Family Life News, the news you need when you need it. A friend you can turn to, Family Life.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.